You did a good job.
Okay, just in case there's somebody out there that's wondering who are these guys, I'll introduce the crew of STS-7. Commander Bob Crippen, pilot Rick Houck, mission specialist John Fabian, Sally Ride, and Norm Thagard. Cripp?
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate such a large group coming out today. We're looking forward to it. If we can keep weather like this, we're certainly ready to go on Saturday. I think the Kennedy launch team has done a super job once again and proven that they can turn around a vehicle faster than we've ever done it before. And we're looking forward to getting airborne just as soon as we can. Why don't everybody say hello? Rick, step up the mic.
Sure good to be back, and we'll look forward to being back in about 9 days, or maybe 10.
Rick said that pretty well. I don't think I can add anything. Sure, thank you all for coming out.
It's always been good to come to KSC, but I think we have special reasons for thinking that this is a little bit better than normal. Thanks a lot.
It's good to be home in Florida, and although I usually hate to leave it, I guess I'll be glad to leave it at least on Saturday. It's good to be here.
Thank y'all very much.
This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 3 hours and holding. The astronaut flight crew of Bob Crippen, Rick Houck, John Fabian, Sally Ride, and Norman Thagard are presently in the room in the astronaut quarters ready for breakfast. Commander Bob Crippen is in the center of the group, all of them wearing striped T-shirts this morning. Bob Crippen, commander of the 7th flight of the Space Shuttle, will be the first astronaut to have flown on the shuttle for the second time. He was pilot on the first Space Shuttle launch just slightly more than 2 years ago. Born in Beaumont, Texas, he grew up in nearby Porter. He's a captain in the U.S. Navy, married, and has 3 daughters. Crippen has also been selected as a commander of the STS-13 crew, which will be the first mission to recover an ailing spacecraft from orbit, the Solar Maximum mission. Seated on his left is mission specialist Dr. Sally Ride, who will be the first U.S. woman to fly into space. Dr. Ride emphasizes she's a mission specialist and scientist who happens to also be a woman. Seated at the end of the table is Rick Houck, who is the pilot on this mission. He joined the astronaut corps in 1978 after a distinguished career as a naval aviator. He served in Vietnam and was named the Outstanding Navy Test Pilot in 1972. A number of other people joining the astronauts for breakfast, which has a large cake with the patch which was designed especially for the STS-7 crew, which is always baked by the manager of the astronaut office here at Kennedy Space Center, Nancy Gunner. This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 2 hours, 28 minutes, 15 seconds and counting, and our astronaut crew has just left their crew quarters, moving into the elevator to come down to the first floor of the O&C building for their trip to the pad. Commander Bob Crippen leading the way, and everybody crowding into the elevator so that they can get down to the bottom. Just prior to that, the NASA test director said that there would be another checkpoint. He asked everybody to look at their criteria and that he'll be getting back to them prior to the actual time when the crew goes on board. But at this point, there are no constraints to the launch. A number of employees flashing their cameras as the crew comes out, led by Commander Bob Crippen. John Fabian, the tallest of the group, once quite worried that he was just too tall to be an astronaut, With the roomier spacecraft, that's not a problem. Dr. Norman Thagard, bringing up the rear, has the distinction of being the first medical doctor to fly into space. And the crew will be going out to the pad in a recreational vehicle, type vehicle this time. The last trip of the old Astro van, which has taken astronauts to the pad for many years, has been completed now. The crews are getting larger, and there's no longer room to accommodate everybody that's necessary. The door being closed, and this is an interim Astro van, and will be replaced in the future. This is the largest crew. One of the first on the STS-7 mission is the size of the crew, which is at 5 is the largest one to have flown so far. But that number is going to be going up to 7 and possibly more on future flights. A van pulling away from the O&C building where the astronaut quarters are located in the industrial area. Commander Bob Crippen now in the White Room, putting his Snoopy hat on, and then he'll be putting on his launch and entry helmet. During the first few flights of the shuttle, a full pressure suit was needed, and so the helmet's attached to that suit. However, nowadays, only coveralls are used, plus a special harness, which is used for restraint and emergencies. And Commander Bob Crippen being brushed off with a whisk broom, and now his shoes being wiped off so that he doesn't track any dirt into the clean interior. And he has just patted the suit technician on the back and is now entering the orbiter Challenger. Pilot Rick Houck moving into the area, shaking hands with the technicians up there prior to putting on his vest. And he'll be the second one to enter the orbiter for the 7th mission of the Space Shuttle. The countdown clock at T-minus 2 hours, 5 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. This is Shuttle Launch Control. Of course, the focus of media attention around the world has been on Dr. Sally Ride, who emphasizes that she's a mission specialist and a scientist who just also happens to be a woman. However, as the first woman to fly in space on board a U.S. spacecraft, history is undoubtedly going to focus on that as well as her accomplishments to date, such as a doctorate in physics from Stanford University. She's married to Dr. Stephen A. Hawley, who also is an astronaut. And she was also selected in 1978 and served as capsule communicator for the STS-2 and STS-3 missions. During this mission, she's going to have a number of vital tasks to perform, such as launching the Palapa satellite and deployment and recovery of the SPAS-1 spacecraft, honors that she'll share with fellow mission specialist John Fabian. Dr. Thagard has the distinction of being the first medical doctor to fly, and he will be taking a close first-hand look at the effects of motion on human in space. Prior to starting his medical studies, he had been a captain in the Marine Corps and a naval aviator, flying 163 combat missions in Vietnam. He then came back to the States and took his Doctor of Medicine degree from Texas Southwestern Medical School in 1977, and was an intern when he learned of the call for new astronauts and was selected for that program in 1978 also. T-minus 25 seconds and counting. The sequencer on board now controlling the final seconds. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. The body flap and speed breaker in launch position. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We go for main engine start. We have main engine start. And the ignition. And liftoff of STS-7 and America's first woman astronaut. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Roger your roll, Challenger. Houston now controlling. Mission control confirms roll maneuver started. 3 on time on all S channels 217 doing. 20 seconds. Rust looks good. 25 seconds. Roll maneuver completed. 30 seconds. Challenger now 1 nautical mile in altitude. Throttling engines down now to 75% as programmed. 40 seconds. The Challenger now 2.5 nautical miles in altitude. 45 seconds. Challenger now 3 nautical miles in altitude. 50 seconds coming up now and create a maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. 55 seconds. Challenger 4.5 nautical miles in altitude. Mark 1 minute. Pass through max Q, still looking good. Throttling engine back to 104%. Giving a go at throttle up. Challenger Houston, you're going throttle up. Roger, going throttle up. Nice rock. Mark 1 minute 25 seconds. Challenger now 11 nautical miles altitude, 8 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reaching 3,700 feet per second. Mark 1 minute 40 seconds. Challenger now 16 nautical miles in altitude, 13 nautical miles downrange. Crippen, Halleck and Company now coming into the last traces of the Earth's atmosphere. Challenger now 19 nautical miles in altitude. 1 minute 55 seconds. Challenger 21 nautical miles in altitude, 21 nautical miles downrange. Standing by now for solid rocket booster separation. Roger, set. 12 minutes 12 seconds. Confirmed good solid rocket booster separation. The booster's falling away now. 2 minutes 20 seconds. Challenger Houston, your first stage performance was nominal. Roger, nominal first stage. That was Capcom Roy Bridges advising first stage performance. Onboard guidance is converging now as programmed. Challenger is now steering for a precise window in space for main engine shutdown. 2 minutes 40 seconds. Challenger 35 nautical miles in altitude. Standing by now for 2-engine TAL capability. Challenger Houston, you have 2-engine TAL capability. Roger, 2-engine TAL. Mark 3 minutes. That call up by Capcom Roy Bridges says the Challenger now has landing capability at Dakar Airport should one engine go out. Mark 3 minutes 10 seconds. Challenger's 3 main engines continue to run smoothly. Challenger's 5-person crew really moving out now. Velocity now reading 7,200 feet per second. Three minutes 25 seconds. Challenger 45 nautical miles in altitude. A return status check and mission control by Flight Director Jay Green. 3 minutes 35 seconds. Crew aboard Challenger given a go to continue. 3 minutes 40 seconds. Challenger 48 nautical miles in altitude, 105 nautical miles downrange. Standing by now for negative return call up by Capcom Roy Bridges. Challenger, Houston, negative return. Roger, negative return. 3 minutes 57 seconds. With that call up, Kripp and Hauk ride. Fabian Fagard committed to space travel. Roger that. Four minutes 10 seconds. The flash evaporator has been activated to provide cooling for Challenger. Mark 4 minutes 20 seconds. Challenger now 54 nautical miles in altitude, 155 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 9,500 feet per second. Mark 4 minutes 35 seconds. Challenger 55 nautical miles in altitude, 174 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 10,000 feet per second. Four minutes 50 seconds. Challenger 56 nautical miles in altitude, 196 nautical miles downrange. Mark 5 minutes. Standing by now for press to MECO. Challenger Houston, press to MECO. Roger, press. Lord, appreciate it. 5 minutes 10 seconds. A press to MECO call from Capcom. Machine. That sounds great, Kripp. The press to MECO call says, should Challenger lose one engine, press on, keep flying forward. Challenger's engines have enough energy to achieve normal altitude and velocity at cutoff. 5 minutes 30 seconds. Challenger 58 nautical miles in altitude, 260 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 13,000 feet per second. 5 minutes 42 seconds. Standing by now for single engine TOW capability. Preview, preview. Shuttle Control Houston at 11 minutes 25 seconds. Mission elapsed time. Loss of signal now with Challenger through Bermuda. We will next acquire Challenger through Dakar in about 6 minutes. As we approach the end of that pass, we have had a momentary dropout in telemetry in the mission control. Capcom Roy Bridges advised the crew. This is Shuttle Control Houston. And Challenger, that completes the troubleshooting, and thank you.
Okay, John, you should be getting it now.
Beautiful.
John, you copy that we had a good radar test number 2?
Yes, sir, we copied that.
For a while before I wanted to do it here in the dark, but from an evaluation, I could not get the stars right now. Didn't have those lights on it. They sure are nice. And John, these pictures were taken out at 1,000 feet.
That's beautiful. Another space first.
To beat Bruce and his MMU.
That's a beautiful shot.
I really hope you like the arm.
We see that.
We have Mr. Dave Holman, MPAS. The way the ailerons have been riding all along during the flight, John, we could always keep track of the left outboard, the right inboard and outboard, but we could never see the starboard port inboard. We were glad to see we still had a port inboard aileron when we saw this shot.
It is comforting, isn't it?
This would be a great tool to carry on every flight for orbiter inspections.
Control Houston, there again you see Challenger with its tail pointed toward the earth. At the top of the screen there's some glare as a product of the sun's reflection off the radiators.
And here she goes. That's a shift over to the Delta camera, and you can see the KU band antenna there very briefly. Right about now, as I was watching this thing go out, John was yelling at me, "Throw the last switch, throw the last switch." We've got the switches, no problem.
Now hear this. Now hear this to the crew on board the Challenger. It is time to put on your socks and hit the deck. And this morning, wake up smiling.
45,000 feet. range 23 miles. The wind at Dryden directly from the south at 10 knots. Challenger's airspeed 255 knots, altitude 34,000 feet. Touching the hack now. 18 miles to touchdown. Out of 30,000 feet at 257 knots. Beginning the wide sweeping left turn around the hack. $25,000 feet, 260 knots. $20,000 feet, 258 knots. Challenger turning final now. Right on the nominal track. Flight dynamics officer Willis Bolt reports. On glide slope and turning toward the center line. 14,000 feet. 292 knots.
Your energy looks good. Surface wind 180 at 10.
$10,000 feet at 282 knots. On glide slope on center line. $6,500 feet, 281 knots. $2,900 feet, 287 knots. Gears coming. And Challenger's back home, back to Earth. The unofficial touchdown time in mission elapsed time, 6 days, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 10 seconds. That time is unofficial.
Roger, we see that. Congratulations, a great-looking landing. And from the entry team, got some good news. Good news is the beer is very, very cold this morning. The bad news is it's 3,000 miles away.
That's what I was afraid of.
And I'll hand you over to the good guy Gardner here, and he'll talk to you about your post-landing.
Roger that.
Crew disembarking now. All 5 crewmen doing a walk-around inspection of Challenger. All 5 crew members. Hey, leader, safe.